Hello, welcome to Engage Arrive and Patient Calls webinar today. This will be recorded, so it will be available after the call. If you want to ask any questions, please ask them at the end or pop them in the chat and I can answer them as I go through. But today I'm going to give you a quick demonstration on the Engage Arrive system, the features you've got there. We're going to also have a look at Engage Call and how that works too. And then we'll be looking at the roadmap, so what features will be coming next, and answer any questions you may have. So first of all, I'm going to start off with showing you how it would look on a touch screen in your practice, or if you already have it, and the different settings you can configure to set that up. So if I just now navigate across to the touch screen. So this is how it would look on your screen, whether that's an Android tablet, or Windows, or however you're displaying this. And obviously, please be mindful as well, patients can check in via their mobile phone as well if you have that enabled. So that is a setting which you can enable at the practice. So it will either show on the screen so they can scan the QR code here to check in via their mobile phone, or you could actually have this QR code printed off and placed around your practice. So there's different options there. We also have had practices in the past print off that QR code and give it to particular patients if they struggle to get in from the car park, so they can still arrive for their appointment. So you'll see on the screen here, I can select another language. So this is done via the Google API, and depending on which languages are picked most frequently in my practice, depends which will show towards the top of the list. So then I'm to scroll through the pages each time. But for this demonstration, we'll keep it in English. And as the patient, I would just go through to start. It then can display an important message to the patient. So you can free text this text here on your console. You can update this daily if you wanted to, or set it for the week, however long you want the same message to show. But it's a really great way to get information across to patients, perhaps about things going on in the surgery. They continue through and the patient would select their day of birth. So I'm using a test patient today. So mine is the 20th, and then my month of birth is October, and then the first letter of my last name is B, and it will now look for that patient's appointment. So it's confirming with the patient, am I Amelia, which I am. So it'll then go through to the next question, which is about checking my contact details are correct. Now you get to choose if it asks these questions or not. But if you do want to enable it, it will show on the screen as it has on mine, and you can check obviously if their telephone, mobile address is correct. And you can see we do star some of the information, so it's not all of the patient's information displayed on the screen. So I can go through and say, yes, these look correct, but it's picked up that I don't currently have an email address recorded. So it's asking me, do I have one, which I do. So it's asking me to go visit the reception to update my contact details. So I can continue through as the patient. And again, this is another option. These are features you can enable or disable, depending on if you wanted to utilize them. So this one is asking me, have I recorded my blood pressure today? So if you have a health pod in your practice that patients can go and utilize, take their blood pressure, height and weight, you can then choose if the screen allows you to pop that information in. So they can go through, pop their blood pressure in. So if I just go through, and that will then add that to the patient's clinical record. Oh, let me try my other test patient. I've already checked the other one in. So 21st of February, and my last name begins with H. So when they then go in for their appointment, that information is already in the clinical system for them. So I'll go through, confirm it's me. My contact details are correct. I don't have an email address, but I do want to record my blood pressure, and I can then go through and enter the readings for that, which definitely aren't my readings, so don't worry. And then it asks me, is this blood pressure reading correct? I can say yes, and it's confirmed with the patient, it's been added to their record. So it's marked me as arrived, confirming with me my appointment and who it's with, asking me to take a seat in the waiting room, and it's asking me that the GP also wants me to complete a questionnaire. So again, this is down to you guys if you want to display this on your screens, But now I could scan that on my mobile phone, and while I'm waiting for my appointment, I can fill in a questionnaire that's been attached, whether that's perhaps a smoking status questionnaire you've built yourself, so you can choose what is displayed there. So I have been marked as arrived. The patient doesn't have to click finish, but they can if they want to. But at that point, I am marked as arrived. So that's the screen and how that looks to the patient and the different settings there. So now I'm going to go into what we call the management console to show you how to update these settings. Now, the great thing is with the management console, you can either access it via web browser, so you can access it from wherever you are, or you can go into the Engage client if you wanted to, which is downloaded onto your system. So it depends if you use our other products as well or not, if you have the Engage client downloaded. But if not, you can just access it from a web browser, update the settings whenever you need to, click save, and they'll go and push through to the screen. So it's really easy to get those settings updated. So you'll see on the left-hand side, I've got my appointment arrival. So if I click on there, we can see the settings, what we can set. So we've got our arrival window, so how many number of minutes early that patient can arrive and how many number of minutes late that patient can arrive. So you can choose the time frames there. You can choose whether we are going to check that patient contact details or not. So you might switch it on for a certain period and then turn it off. It's completely down to you how you utilize that feature. We have our waiting areas. So currently I have 2 waiting areas set up, but I can add more if I need to. So I just click add waiting area. I can name that waiting area whatever I need to, what's obviously relevant to my practice. And I can pop in the instructions as well, what to display to the patient. So whether they need to go upstairs, downstairs, particular area to wait for that particular appointment. So once I have them set up, I can then go over to my consulting staff list. I can update my consulting staff list and that will pull it in from my clinical system. And then I can select the staff member I want to edit the waiting rooms for. So I'll select myself in this example. I can select a waiting area from here, so whether that's downstairs or upstairs. But if I need to set different waiting areas for different days and times, I can enable this toggle, select the days and select the time periods and where I want them to direct those patients to. So you could set this up for the week, click save, and then that will be done for that particular clinician or colleague. So obviously for myself. We then have the questionnaires. So you can choose the questionnaire you show to the patient. We do have a list which are fully coded that you can utilize. So that will just pop into the patient's record if you choose for it to be so you can either review that response before it goes into the patient's record, or you can choose that they don't need to be reviewed and just send them straight to the clinical record. So that's again down to your practice, but we have ones fully coded already in the system, or you can go and build your own. So for example, if there was one here that I needed to add, I can just go down to my questionnaires and build your own questionnaires and go in and either edit my questionnaires I already have there or go in and build a new questionnaire. You can title that questionnaire and pop in any information that you want to display to the patient as they go through to fill that questionnaire in. I can add a clinical code for that questionnaire as a whole. So as I begin to type, it will pull that from the clinical system, the code, so I can then select from them, as you can see on the screen. I can choose whether it's a medical or admin questionnaire and then start building my questionnaire with whatever question types I want. So we've got radio button group, so you can have your question, the answers and the relevant clinical codes. I can also select if that's required or optional. So if I need the patient to answer that, I'd select required. I've then got my checkboxes. So again, same principle applies. Pop in my question, pop in the answers and the relevant clinical codes. And I've got my single line input and my long text. So you can make any of these required or optional, build that questionnaire out, and then it will be in that drop-down list for you to utilize. So that's the questionnaires. We've then got your mobile check-in. So I showed you on the screen how that could look with the QR code. So you can enable this for your practice. Again, display any information message that you want to. And what you would do is you'd select your practice location on the map. You can then select how far they can arrive from. So whether they're in your car park or just however far you want them to be able to arrive from on their mobile phone. and where that location appointment will be. So that's really useful if you're a multi-branch site, because you can select your locations, they can't arrive elsewhere. You've then got your touchscreen set up, so it's really simple to get that paired. The touchscreen would show a 4-digit code, you type that in, you can name that touchscreen name and the location of that. Again, that's for your multi-branch site practices. You can choose where that patient can check in. So if I turned up at the wrong practice, it wouldn't allow me to check in there. And again, you've got that information message that I showed you on the screen that you can type in there to display to patients. You've also got the option where to enable that health pod. So at the moment, we've got blood pressure here and we've got height and weight as well that you'll be able to choose whether to enable or not. So that is the main touchscreen settings. You can also, so that's how you build your own questionnaires as well for the screen. And then we've got the patient call. So you have your waiting room TV. So again, it's the same as the touchscreen. You type in a 4-digit code and you compare them. You can choose to play that notification sound, and if you want to announce call messages as well. So again, you can choose the different functions there, and you get the choice as well to enable media. So I'll show you how that looks in a moment on the touchscreen and which videos you can choose from. So we have the media tab here, so you can select what videos you want to show on the patient call screen. We also have it on our roadmap, so you can actually upload your own content as well. So you'll then be able to choose what you want to show to your patients. You have the news ticker, so you can add a news item, and this will run across the bottom of the screen. Again, I'll show you in a moment how that looks, and you can set an expiry date on that. So if you want it to only display for so long, after that time it then won't display. So that's the main settings there. So now I'll go in and show you how patient call works. So you can do it via your toolbar to call that patient in. So you'd literally just tick call patient. That will come up. I've already chose my room, so my room's currently called 1, but you can name that whatever is obviously suitable. And it shows on my screen who I can call in for their appointment. So once I then select that patient, it will then show on my screen. So I'm going to show you a video of how it would obviously show on a screen because I can't show it on my computer, but you can then see how that would then look. So that's for customers in general, but you do have the option if you are an EMIS web customer. So if I just show you on my screen, when you're actually in your appointment book, you would click on the appointment and you can then click on your keypad or right click and choose to send that patient in. It would then show on the screen. So I've marked that patient. They've already been marked as arrived, so now I can go in to call them. So this is how it would look on your patient call screen. So we've got the news ticker at the bottom, running along the bottom with whichever message we popped in there. It's just showing me currently about downloading the Engage Consult app. And now it's now going into the media that I selected from. And then when I call a patient through, it'll pop up on the screen. So it'll interrupt the media, call the patient on the screen. It's got a ticker there, so it counts down. And then it'll go back to your media. And then obviously, if you called another patient in, it would then show up on the screen again. So that's how Engage Arrive and Engage Call works. On our roadmap, we have lots of features coming and we're always wanting more features as well from you guys. So please do let us know if there's anything in particular you want to see. But what's on our current roadmap is Engage Arrive for multiple organizations. So what that means is if you are in one location, but there's multiple organizations under one roof, you can just have the one screen to check in, but that will check all the different clinical systems and practices to obviously check that patient in. So they don't have to go, you don't have to have 4 touch screens there for all 4 different organizations. You just have that one touch screen and the screen will check where that patient needs to be checked in at. That's also the same for Engage Call, so share an Engage Call patient call-in screen. We have the friends and family tests going to be added soon. So after an appointment, it will be sent out to the patient to fill in the friends and family test, and that will come back in as a report. We have the local content for Engage Call, so I did mention that one, being able to upload your own videos to display on the screen. And we have further enhancements to build your own questionnaires. So we'll be looking at that as a feature and enhancing how that works and how you can utilise it, such as adding a bit of branching logic and things like that into there. So is there any questions on the call? You can either pop them in the chat or feel free to say them out. Nope, I don't think there's any at the moment. Yeah, Tracy?
Hi, sorry, yeah, I just saw that friends and family was on the screen. So is my understanding that we can't do that yet unless we build our own questionnaire, I suppose?
Yeah, so you could build your own questionnaire and have it displayed on the screen at the moment, but yeah, it's not available yet, but it is on the roadmap. So once it's released, we'll let you know, and then you'll be able to toggle that on in your management console.
Okay, brilliant, thank you.
No problem. Any other questions or anything? If you want me to show anything again or go into more detail, please do let me know. Happy to do that. Oh, I think there's something in the chat, so one moment. If the patient enters a blood pressure reading and it's out of range, would we be notified? So currently how it works is that patient's going to be going in for an appointment. So they take their blood pressure, pop it into the touchscreen, and then they go in for their appointment where you could then obviously check, you would check in the patient's record what that blood pressure reading was. So it doesn't notify you as much as such, but it'll be in the patient's record ready for their appointment where you could then go and check and see, obviously, if it's out of range. Hope that answers your question, Lottie. Any other questions on the chat? Or feel free to pop your hand up. No? No problem. Well, if there's anything that you need, please let us know. If there's anything sort of training related, please feel free to email it over to training@engagehealth.uk if you want to talk through your console in a bit more detail, if you want us to show you anything, any new features, etc. And any other sort of queries can go to support@engagehealth.uk if they're anything technical. But thank you for joining today's webinar. As I said, it will be recorded, so feel free to share it out. And if you have any questions, just let us know. Thank you all for joining.